Our next speaker, our last speaker, is Daryl. Daryl has been in recovery for 13 years and grew up right here in the South End section of Stanford with our friend and Chief Recovery Officer, Maggie Young. Right, Maggie? That's right. This man has been on a mission to talk publicly about addiction, recovery, and urban trauma. Following several years of incarceration, Daryl attained both his bachelor's and master's degrees and attained state certifications as an addiction counselor, a recovery support specialist, and a criminal justice professional. He's the founder of Formerly Inc., a nonprofit dedicated to helping reintegrate those like himself, returning citizens who have been incarcerated. Daryl is featured in a new documentary on trauma and addiction called Uprooting Addiction, and he's also scheduled to deliver a TED Talk on December 5th. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Daryl McGraw.
Hello, everybody. Oh, come on, man. Hello, everybody. All right. I'm just making sure we're in the right room. I've been Zooming all day, so all I'm used to is looking at little small squares, so I'm happy to be here. Jack said that he was scared, and he said he was scared to come up here, and I was scared when I was told that we were having this vigil in New Canaan. See, I grew up in Stanford. See, some of y'all already laughing because y'all know where we're going with that, right? Y'all know I don't come to New Canaan. And I was like, New Canaan, man, we don't go to New Canaan. We close, we cool, but we don't go to New Canaan. It's an understanding that we got, right? So we can laugh about that today, and you know, recovery is amazing, life-changing, glorious recovery in the building. We got young people living in this life of recovery, choosing to be substance-free. I wish that I was so fortunate. That's the cool thing, to be young and saying, hey, I choose to be substance-free. If nothing else, I say tonight, remember every day we all get two things when we wake up and we put our feet on those floors. And I'm talking to you brothers in early recovery. Two things. We get a chance and a choice. The moment you wake up, you get that chance, you get that choice. You get that chance to make choices. And we make choices all day long, all kinds of choices. Those of us in the recovery, we make the hard choices all the time. I wanted to talk really briefly, because I could talk all day, right, about urban trauma. You know, I'm asked to speak all over the country about trauma. And when I first started speaking about trauma, see, because there's a relationship between trauma and addiction, and those of you that are not familiar with it, let me just tell you how this thing goes. They would say, what are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about your sexual addictions? Were you sexually abused? Were you physically abused? And I said, no. My first trauma happened when my dad left, when I was 6 years old. See, my dad left, and before he left, he said, you are the man of the house, right? At 6 years old, and that changed my life forever. See, you have to understand how important, how trauma is related to addiction. So, to some, that might not be a big deal, but my dad leaving, that superhero, that man, those of you that know what it was like to grow up in a two-parent home, think about one parent leaving early in age, like our friend Devin spoke about, talking about like that piece of, and by the way, my mom's name is Mary too, so that's a cool thing, yeah. So just thinking about when my dad left and he said, you are the man of the house. Now I'm just gonna say this thing really quickly. My son is 18 now, and he is 6'10". And I love this guy, but he cannot figure out how to get the trash from the back of the house to the front of the house. I tell him there's this magical truck that comes and pulls up, and you put the trash in and you take the can back, and he still hasn't figured that out. So I'd say that to say there is no way in the world at 18 I would tell him that he is the man of the house. But I was told at 6 years old that my life had changed. That means I couldn't do things at 6 and early. So through my life growing up in Stanford on the west side, West side, let's be clear. Where's the west side at? We ain't gonna start no trouble. It's getting dark in here. The police over here. Just be quiet. Hold on. I don't need y'all West Side people getting us arrested, man. You know this is New Canaan. Relax. So, but we are from the West Side, right? He said the South End. I was like, oh man. And Maggie didn't say anything. Maggie, you in a leadership position now. Speak up. So that urban trauma that we all witnessed, many of us, we witnessed growing up, violence and all these things are happening. We witnessed this and we were told not to talk about it. And all these things are happening and we didn't know how to process that. We didn't know how to process that pain. We didn't know how to process that trauma. And so what did we start to do? Reach outside of ourselves, right? Many of us reached outside of ourselves to find things that could numb that pain, that numb that. And that was me for many years. I spent 10 years of my life cycling in and out of the correctional system. So when I saw the orange shirts, I got a little traumatized. I'm not gonna lie, still dealing with that. If there's some therapists in the audience, let me know. But you know what, I got excited because you know, when you're in prison and you put this orange on, that's the transportation jumps. That's the transportation. That means we are going someplace. So we are going someplace tonight. And we are going some, you heard the Pivot Ministry singing. We are going someplace tonight. And what I want to close with is that we laughed in the early part about Stanford and the black and brown and white thing. The one thing that we see here tonight is that we're all human beings and we all could come to one place. Y'all can clap that up. Let's go, let's get it. We could come to one place and be human beings in this space. So what we do, I believe in the ripple effect. You know how you throw that little pebble in the water and it ripples out? Man, we need to, I want you all to be pebbles in the water and ripple out and say, you know what, I'm treating, from this point on, I'm treating everybody as a human being. Because, yeah, come on, let's do it. If they're gonna call me off the stage in a minute, they're gonna invite me down. We need to do that because we need you. In early recovery, I needed people like you to help me get to the next level. Like John said, I've had some amazing accomplishments. I'm about to do a TED Talk, for real. Like, I'm a kid from the West Side, man. I'm from the West Side. I did drugs. I spent a lot of time in prison. But one thing that I know is it's important to deliver this message. This message that we're all, that trauma, number one, is one of the leading factors to addiction, mental health, and all these other things. So we need to, why, if we know that, and this is, I give you guys two things of homework, right? The other thing is we need to start talking more about the correlation between trauma and addiction. Because we know that there's a correlation, but yet we don't, in schools, we don't do ACEs studies, we don't check for trauma. When people are in prison, nobody ever asked me about trauma. They just told me, have a nice day, see you next time around. I don't go through the back door anymore, I come through the front. And a lot of these places pay me very well, just say, right? So, I just say that, you know, I don't want to ramble on. I just want to say recovery is real. It's an honor and a privilege. And if you never believe recovery is real, a guy from the West Side of Stanford, grew up in the projects, is standing here today. And I will close with this. I'm not sure if you guys experienced the storm down here. Did some of you experience that storm? So let me tell you. So now I'm a homeowner. Did I tell you, he didn't mention I was a homeowner? I got to say that. I am a homeowner. Never in a million years did I think this crackhead was going to ever own a home. But I own a home, and nothing exciting about that, because those of you that are homeowners, you know, that's a lot of work. It's an ongoing process. There's nothing exciting about it. All the time, I kind of wish I lived back in an apartment. Because you get to call somebody when the toilet's broken. Hey, yo, man, your toilet's broke, man, I don't know what's going on. Now, I'm the guy they call. I don't like it. So I will say this and say this, man, I love being here, and I can stay here all night, but the light is getting brighter. I feel like we're being raided. I don't know what's going on. Yesterday, we had this tree in our yard, and it was a humongous tree, and I was worried about it. I didn't have the money to cut the tree down, right? And it was facing my neighbor's house. And every storm, we're worried about this tree falling. And last night in my bed, I heard that tree snap. I said, oh man, it fell. When I came up, now understand this tree grows right over, shading my neighbor's house. When I walked outside this morning, the tree was laying in my yard this way, not towards my neighbor's house. It hit nothing. See, because God stepped in, right? Took the tree and said, I know you can't pay for the tree because you keep buying those dumb bracelets, right? I know you can't pay for the tree. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna help you out, and I'm gonna take that tree down. So number one, I don't have to take the tree down myself. And number two, I don't have to worry about it hurting my neighbors or anything like that. Now, I still got the big tree in my yard. If anybody wants to help me come over and fix that, that's another issue. But I just say that if you do the right things, the right things will happen for you. Man, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Daryl. Looking forward to that TED Talk. That'll be awesome. And again, Daryl reminds us that addiction is trauma. And whether and again, it goes back to the idea of looking at trauma from a different lens. In our agency, we have what's called trauma-informed care. We just assume everyone's had trauma coming in, so we have to create a recovery environment to have them have a safe place and show people how much we care before we show them how much we know. First, do no harm. That's the key to really any intervention and connection. And so with trauma, it's either something happened to you that shouldn't have happened to you, like Devin losing her dad tragically in that car accident, or something not happening to you that should have happened to you, like Daryl being robbed of his childhood at 6 years of age and having to then grow up at 6, which is not a time to be able to really understand what life is about. So again, I hope these stories allow you to have more compassion for people in recovery and who they are, and I'm so grateful that they're able to put a face on recovery tonight. So thank you again for all of our speakers.